Well, hello there, Heather Nehring. You're one of my eldest and best known colleagues, and I'm really glad to welcome you here on the Red Couch today.
Angie, thank you. I'm really happy to be with you. Thank you for the invitation.
And we already noticed it's hot in Munich and hot in Zurich,
It
so
is.
it feels like it's summer, even though we're still in May. And Heather, you and I have known each other for at least 11, maybe not even 12 years.
Yeah,
And it's fantastic that we have grown together into the intercultural trainers and coaches that we are.
indeed.
And I would like to start with a simple question. But why do you do what you do?
Yeah. It sounds so simple, doesn't it? A harmless first question. Well, why do I do what I do? Because I learn all of the time.
Hmm.
And that takes different forms. So I work with so many people who are so different than I am. And that is the richness of working in training and designing training and working with individuals as a coach. Yeah, is all of their rich diversity.
Wonderful. In your journey, how did you get to the point where you are today? Maybe you
Mhm.
can share some of your valleys of tears, maybe some moments of glory of
Mhm.
your journey.
Yeah. So, yet another interesting question. Um, I wanted, as soon as I had had the experience of being in an international setting, I was fascinated. I was fascinated because I often didn't have the answers.
Hmm.
And then I came to realize along the way that oftentimes most of the people around me didn't have the answers. And so we had to create them. And the key learning experiences right after my master's degree had a lot to do with becoming very, very aware that I don't have the answers. So being present and working with people and listening very carefully had to be the key, as opposed to imagining that I had the answers, working much too much and getting very exhausted, which is short-term a possibility. For instance, I was doing event management at that point, and then I moved on to later work at an engineering company here in Munich. And that lesson I had learned that getting exhausted isn't going to help you get things done. And that some days when you're working internationally, possibly with people you've never seen, and at the time we did not do Zoom conferences,
Uh-huh.
that you need all of the energy that you have to work through complicated situations, personal preferences, company limitations, in managing international engineering projects together. So,
So if you're saying getting exhausted is not the way to get things done internationally, what would you say? What is the secret to getting things done in such engineering projects, for example?
hmm. Yeah, one of the secrets is to show each other what you're talking about.
Uh-huh.
So the learning around that was that when different parties, they didn't even have to be from different countries, were trying to hold conversations with each other, everyone had different pictures in their heads, but it didn't mean that they were working with the same picture. So
Yeah.
yeah, and I have to say that realization, as simple as it sounds, took me quite a while to come up with. And after that, I used a lot of flip charts and had people either open PowerPoint presentations and show each other what they were talking about, or draw for each other, because then it's more concrete. Our imaginations are so powerful, And seeing an image can really help people suddenly orient and then be able to say that, confirm that they're talking about one thing, or indeed say that's not what I'm talking about at all. So yeah.
That's amazing. And it's something that just reminded me of an event where, 300 managers were asked with their eyes closed where north is. And everyone was pointing to a different direction.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think I get it. So if you had a chance to give one tip to a younger professional, maybe in our field or in another field, but probably working across the globe in a very diverse, complex setting that we experience in most international organizations today, what would you tell that person?
Invest lots of time and energy in knowing yourself well. And I would go on beyond one thing and say, trust yourself and listen very carefully to the people around you.
Okay, so trust yourself, know yourself, and listen to the people around you. The people that are close to you, or just anybody around you?
Yeah, such good questions. I would say not only the people you like, you think you have something in common with, but especially the people you think you don't like, because they also may have very important positions or information to share.
Yeah, right. Actually, I just had like an aha moment today about someone. I'm not gonna name names.
Don't mention names.
Yeah, and I realized that when I met this person first, I was not very convinced. And today I thought, my God, we have so much in common. We're basically the same person. So, over time, we developed such a good, strong relationship that now I have a completely different feeling about her competence than I had in the beginning.
Yeah.
So that is an interesting development. Yeah. And probably it's the same on her end.
You could check.
So in terms of branding, and I mean, being self-employed, and you've been self-employed, I think even longer than I have been, running your own business, being out there, trying to find clients. We know, one of the key things is our personal branding and showing ourselves on media. Even that's not always what we want to do. I'm pretty sure you also have one social media channel that you really like. So tell us a bit more about your social media presence and which channel you like.
Thanks. I tend to focus most of my attention on LinkedIn. And it's just that there's a useful exchange for me there. And there have been some very interesting contacts that have come through that. And I think LinkedIn is also developing. It's becoming more dynamic than it was several years ago.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I remember like 13 years ago, I thought it was dead. And now I'm like, oh, I'm actually spending a lot of time there, and I have a lot of followers on LinkedIn. So it's actually a really good really good media platform for us to be on. Yeah. Also because I guess our target groups are on LinkedIn. So that's another good reason to be there.
Yeah, and there's so many people on LinkedIn that weren't there 10 years ago.
That too.
People with very innovative ideas who are really pushing things forward. And I find that very interesting and very inspiring.
That's fantastic. Thanks a lot, Heather. So before we come to an end, is there anything else that you wish to share with our audience today?
Well, actually, I would just like to share with you and obviously then also with the audience, my current interest in something that's called the Inner Development Goals. And they are still quite young. They've been created with quite a large group of people and are the response to very abstract UN Sustainability Development Goals.
Mm-hmm.
The thought being that if we're going to make progress on that, we have to change ourselves. We have to learn and we have to develop. And that's something that I find very interesting, things that most of us as trainers and as coaches have been working on for years,
Mm-hmm.
but they're very nicely structured. And so one of the things I'm looking at right now is how do I move that in to what I'm doing anyway? And what can I learn from it? Yeah, and how will it continue to develop?
I think that's amazing. And it would be nice if you could share the link again so we can put it in the show notes.
Sure.
And also, your personal LinkedIn profile or your website so that our audience can also connect with you directly.
That would be great. Yeah.
Fantastic. It was a pleasure talking to you, Heather.
It was a pleasure talking to you. And thanks so much for doing this, because I would have loved to have seen something like this when I was 25.
Yeah, fantastic. And I hope to see you soon in person.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.